In this video, I'm going to be going over how to file your taxes for Doordash drivers for the year 2022, which you'll be filing this year in 2023. And I'll also be going over some new things that are coming for 2023 in regards to write-offs and benefits that you'll get for next year when you file taxes. So I'm going to be breaking down everything I've learned from the past 4 years of me doing this, giving you guys all the information I have, all the information I've looked up. But remember, I am not a tax professional, so just take everything I say with a grain of salt, I guess, and make sure you're doing your own research and also talking to an actual tax professional. But I'm just here to give you what I've learned over the past 4 years of filing taxes as a Doordash driver myself. So the first thing we need to go over is some terminology. The first thing you guys should know is that the term write-off and deduction are the same thing. There's literally no difference between them. Write-off means the same as deduction. Deduction means the same as write-off. Now there is a different term called a tax credit, which is different than those, but as a Doordash driver, you really don't get many tax credits. You get a lot of write-offs and deductions though. Now the next term is tax deduction. What a tax deduction is essentially the money you get to subtract from your overall income or your gross income, which is what the actual term is. A tax deduction is what you get to subtract off of that, and that's how you get your taxable income. So what your taxable income is just the income that you've made after your tax deductions. You guys will understand better what those actually are as we're using them throughout this video. So as a Doordash driver, when you go to file your taxes, you have kind of two different things you can use for your tax deductions. One, you can do the standard mileage deduction, which is just adding up all the miles you drove for business and then taking the standard mileage deduction rate, which the IRS gives out every single year, and you just go with that. The other one you can do is actually calculate your individual expenses that it takes to run your car and all that good stuff and add it up yourself and figure out how much you can write off from that. Now, in my opinion, it's easier to just take the standard mileage deduction, and it's usually more in what you're paying in individual expenses anyway. So that's what I always do. And the standard mileage deduction actually varies year to year. It's actually gone up every single year that I've done this. So for 2022, it was a little bit interesting. You had the first 6 months of the year at a 58.5-cent tax deduction per mile you drove. And for the last 6 months, you actually got a 62.5-cent tax deduction per mile you drove. So for the purposes of this video, we're just going to take the average of those two and say for the year of 2022, you get a 60.5-cent tax deduction for every single mile you drove throughout the year. So another thing with the standard mileage deduction is that is just pertaining to any car maintenance. You can still write off other things as far as I'm aware of, like your phone and things like that. So once again, I think it's just better to take the standard mileage deduction. Now let's go into how to actually calculate the amount of taxes you'll be paying. So I know this is a little bit boring, but I'm trying to get through it as quickly as possible and make this video as short as it can be so we can just get through things. And I'll be throwing things up on the screen so that's easier to understand. If you have any questions, again, just consult with a tax professional or maybe leave a comment down below and I'll try and help you out as best as I can. But hopefully I made this as easy as possible to understand. So to start off, you have to figure out how much did you actually make from Doordash. You take the total you made and you multiply it by the miles you drove times the standard mileage deduction rate. And that's how you're going to get your tax write-off total. Now let me actually plug in my own numbers so it's easier for you guys to understand. So last year I made roughly $38,231. So I'm going to be multiplying that by the amount of miles I drove times the standard deduction rate. So for me, that would be 36,697.5 miles times that 60.5-cent mileage deduction, which equates to 0.605. So we're taking the miles I drove times 0.605 and then multiplying that by the total I made, which is 38,231, and we get a total of $22,201.99. That is the total amount that I can write off in regards to the standard mileage deduction. So from there, you're going to take that number and subtract it from the total that you made, which for me was that 38,000 number. So I'm doing $38,231 minus the total tax write-off I get, which is $22,201.99, and I get a total of $16,000 $2,029.01. Now that number that I got right there is my taxable income, which is the total amount of money you made minus your write-offs. So my taxable income is the amount of money that actually gets taxed. So let me explain what I mean by this. Instead of paying taxes on the $38,000 that I made, using the write-offs that I get, now I only have to pay taxes on that $16,000. Now this is where you have to kind of veer off on your own and figure out your own tax rates, which you can just look up on Google. That's what I did. And because I'm filing jointly and my taxable income is only $16,000, I fall into the lowest tax bracket, which is 10%. Now that's the federal tax that I have to pay. You also have to pay state tax, which varies state to state. I'm in Utah, and so I just have to pay a flat rate of 4.85%. So in total, I have to pay 14.85% in taxes. So I take my taxable income, multiply that by my tax rate, which equates to 0.1485, and multiply those together, and that's a rough estimate of how much I'll have to pay in taxes. So we do $16,029.01 times 0.1485, and we get $2,380.31. So with all the write-offs and benefits that I get, I'm actually only paying around 6.2% in taxes from my total income, if that makes sense. That's why it's so beneficial to get as many tax write-offs as you possibly can, because it just lowers your tax bill tremendously. Now, there are some other tax benefits that you can get, and this is according to TurboTax, and it says you get the mileage deduction, obviously, and then you can also write off parking and tolls. You can write off your mobile phone, any expenses that come along with that, any supplies you get, like a phone holder for your car, or any hot bags you purchase, or anything that helps you when you're out delivering food. You can also write off roadside assistance if you're paying for that. You can also write off a bike or any accessories that go on your bike if you're doing Doordash with an e-bike or even just a regular bike or a scooter or whatever it is you're using. Now, I know a lot of this is really confusing, so maybe go back and re-watch my explanation of how to break things down a couple of times. But if you need some extra help, you can also download the app Solo. It's a great app that helps you track your mileage, which is what you're going to need to do in the first place in order to get any of these numbers. And it also has some great tax help information. So if you're putting in your expenses and your income and it's tracking the mileage and income for you as well, then it's going to have a pretty good estimate on how much you can expect to pay in taxes. So if you want to download that app for your mileage tracker and for some tax help, make sure you click the link down below in the description. When you use that link I have for you, you're going to be getting a bonus $10. And with DoorDash being as slow as it is right now, I think we could all use a little extra money. So just click that link, download the app, link one of your accounts, and you'll get that bonus $10 and all the great features that come along with it. Now, as far as 2023 goes, we actually get an even bigger tax deduction. According to the IRS, we get a 65.5-cent tax deduction per mile we drive this year. So that's going to be even more savings, and it's going to work out the same if you just plug in that number instead of the 0.605 that we were using for this video. So to wrap up, as far as what to use to file your taxes, I just use TurboTax. It's super easy, super simple, and they try to take a lot of the complication out of it for you. So that's just what I've used every single year. And a myth that's out there is that you have to file every quarter, but I've been doing it for 4 years. I've never filed quarterly. I just do once a year. So do with that what you will, but that's just what I've always done. So there you guys have it. If you enjoyed this video and got some great information out of it, if you wouldn't mind just hitting that subscribe button for me, it really helps me out. Lets me know you guys are enjoying the videos and enjoying the information I'm giving you. And also, I'm doing a giveaway for when we hit 50,000 subscribers. So if you want to be a part of that, hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.